This is Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Telecom Reseller, and we're at IAUG's Converge 2014, and I'm with Snehal Patel, who is the CEO of Interact CRM. Snehal, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Doug. It's a pleasure being here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's nice seeing you as always, and I enjoyed walking by your booth and learning more about what you're doing. But for people who don't know about your company, what is Interact CRM?
So Interact CRM is a multi-channel, contact center software provider. Okay, so we focus on, customer experience management. Okay, so when you talk about customer experience management, these days customers do not communicate through just voice or just email. They have different media which they choose to communicate by, and so we provide a solution that enables enterprises to deal with multiple streams of communication through different media, like it could be voice, email, web chat, SMS, social feeds, and personalize all of them and make sure that you provide a uniform customer experience across all of this. So the customer feels that I'm free to choose whatever channel I want, and I still get the same level of consistent service. So that's the solution we provide. Okay, and we work with multiple vendors, on the telecom side to get the voice stream, and on the data side, obviously, it's all, one big box which handles all the different data streams. So that's essentially, as a company, that's what we do. It's trying to make customer experience better and drive loyalty as a result, because these days loyalty is driven directly by customer experience. The product itself doesn't drive loyalty as much as the customer experience does, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's why tagline says simplifying customer loyalty.
So people are looking at what works and what's easy to use and what gets the job done.
That's right. So it has to be simple, it has to be functional. Right, so for customers, it's got to be easy to use, and it should be easy for them to reach you. And for enterprises, it shouldn't take 6 to 9 months to deploy something, and it shouldn't be a very complicated system. Because the other angle to this is it's a very dynamic world, and companies are struggling with the fact that they need to move very quickly. The systems change so quickly, so if they take 6 months to install, the requirements could potentially change in 6 months. So they have to have a system which is very adaptable. And so we've tried to put that into the product and make it very adaptable and easy to use. Right?
As you have a front row seat in the type of products and services you're offering to observe a big change in the way people are communicating.
That's right. So what has happened over the years, right, is if you think about the last 10 to 12 years, the first let's step maybe from 2000 to 2007 or 8, right? People talked about multi-channel, but majority of the communication was still through voice. Then something different happened, right? Okay, the iPads came out from Apple. Okay, the smartphones started becoming popular. Okay, and the new generation, of kids, who started becoming more part of, the consumer crowd. Okay, they came into the picture. Once they came into the picture and all this technology shifted, people started using different ways of communication. So if you look at the generation side of things, today's kids, they prefer to text. You almost have to, text your kids to saying, "Can I call you?" Right? So they prefer, non-voice methods of communication. Right? So that's one example. And then, when you have a tablet or a smartphone, your mobile, you can get email from anywhere, anytime. Okay, you can, potentially do a web chat from anywhere. You can send text messages. So for consumers, it's becoming a lot easier to choose non-voice channels to communicate, with an enterprise, right? So these shifts have, made enterprises think that, okay, now if you look at our communication, patterns, okay, we're not seeing that many voice calls, okay, or the increase is not on the voice side. Okay, we're seeing incremental, communication on non-voice channels, right? So we're seeing people sending text messages, we're seeing a lot of emails, okay, and a lot of this is also real time. So what we have to also look at is, how does this stack up in terms of real time versus non-real time, okay, from a response perspective. So, voice obviously is real time, okay. The next thing that it's close to real time is web chat. Okay, because that also is kind of real time. You have somebody on the other end looking for a response right away. Okay, text messaging is also, relatively real time. It's not as much as voice or, web chat because it's not very, very synchronous. Okay, and then you have email, which people want responses quickly, but you could say I'll get back to you in an hour, 2 hours, or a day, depending on the service levels, right? So each channel has its own characteristic, and all of this has to be dealt with by the enterprises when they put together a framework of how do we manage our customer experience and how do we make sure that the customer is taken care of. And this is very different from what it was 5 or 8 years ago, where people primarily had to worry about how do I manage calls. Okay, how do I get the call into my call center? And that's why the whole call center term got coined to contact center, and now some people call it customer experience center, right? Because it's no longer just about voice calls. So there's been a shift over these years, and we've been in the middle of all that. And as we saw the shift, we started developing solutions to try and address that need.
So I think what you're doing is you're describing a generational shift.
Correct.
Humans have to talk to humans, but they're not actually talking, is what I think you're telling me.
So people are sending more text messages, sending more email, and what that means is people are probably not as comfortable anymore, having a direct conversation. So with the new generation, we're seeing that. Okay, there's a lot more texting going on, there's a lot more emailing going on, and traditionally the way we just used to call people up and talk to them, okay, that isn't really happening as much these days. And it could mean that things take longer to get accomplished because there's definitely something to be said about a conversation and how quickly you can resolve something using a conversation versus sending email or sending text messages back and forth, right? And on the other side, there is some talk in the industry about the increase of video, right? And the question to ask here is, when people are not comfortable really talking as much, right, and they're resorting to non-voice channels, more asynchronous, then would they be comfortable? How comfortable would they be, doing a video conference or actually seeing people face to face? As humans, it's nice to meet people. FaceTime is always good, and it's always useful. But there is some shift in the way the new generation seems to be behaving, and the preference they have towards having a real interactive communication, face-to-face, video or voice, versus doing it asynchronously over a text message or email.
So, with that shift underway, no doubt, from an older generation to the sort of inbound generation, how is your company, Interact CRM, reacting? How are you shifting your policy mix?
Right. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to create something which addresses what we call the omnichannel problem, right? So it's not about using channel A or channel B, not about, customer A, B, and C uses voice and customer C, D, and E, uses email. It's not about that. It's about how do we create a system that is almost channel agnostic, all right? So what I mean by that is somebody calls you about something, and after the call on the same issue, they'll send you an email. Tomorrow, they're at the computer and they might decide to do a web chat. It's the same issue. So for an enterprise or a company, it's one issue, but that issue spanned 3 different modes of communication. So from the agent's perspective, can the agent link all these 3 pieces of communication together and provide a consistent response to the customer? Is the company able to run reports across all these channels consistently and understand the exact picture of a consumer? So all this technology has been put into our solution, and so we use our solution to tie all these different communication channels together so we can create a true what we call omni-channel experience. So you could switch channels in between a conversation or in between a thread of conversation, right? And the company that is providing you service is able to deal with that in real time, is able to see you across all the channels as one entity and not different entities, one per channel. Right, so that makes a big difference in terms of the experience the consumer has, right? Because I don't want to have to talk to different people through different channels and have to repeat everything I said to the previous person, right? So we try and tie this together. So that's what Interact CRM is trying to do, is create an omni-channel solution which allows enterprises to create a really, really solid customer experience, and it's basically agnostic of how the customer tries to contact you.
And I guess at the end of the day, for a practical business point of view, ultimately the customer experience is a king. It's all important.
Absolutely, and it is, the customer experience is essentially what drives revenue today, right? Today, when you went to business school, 15 years ago, they used to teach you the 3 P's of business, okay? Product, price, and promotion. Okay, that's what used to be the driving force to a profitable company. Okay, and today, what I tell people is it's 3 S's. It's service, service, and service. Essentially, the decision that a consumer makes today to spend money on something they buy is driven by what kind of service am I getting from this particular reseller or vendor. And that is today's economy. That is exactly what makes a difference. And the interesting thing here is that if you provide good service, you can often charge more, right? So people are actually willing to pay you a little bit more than what your competitor is charging if they perceive that you will provide better service. So end of the day, so not only are you going to impact your top line revenue, okay, by providing better service, okay, you're going to drive your bottom line as well, because you can charge people a little bit more, okay, and you can provide them more than other people can, and it also drives the profitability. So end of the day, it's all about loyalty, right? So how do you generate customer loyalty? And that's what Interact CRM stands for. Is we're trying to create something that corporations can use to drive customer loyalty without breaking the bank on their side.
Well, always a fascinating discussion with you. You're one of the few people in our industry that look beyond their own products to look at the bigger trends and things. Where can I learn more about Interact CRM?
So Interact CRM, as a company, right, focuses, on, as I said, on driving customer loyalty and solutions that drive customer loyalty, right? So we have, quite a bit of information on our website, so you can go to www.interactcrm.com, and, we've just recently revamped our website, to give you a lot more information, okay, that can help you understand what products we build and how they work. Okay, so, we'd be more than happy, to answer any, phone calls or emails. And one thing that we try also to do is, since we preach, customer experience management, we also try and practice it ourselves. So if we are contacted by you, we'll guarantee you that you will be, you'll hear from us very, very quickly.
Interact CRM actually interacts.
Yes. Interact CRM is all about managing interactions, and we're also a company, so we're part of the mix.
Snehal, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doug. Appreciate it.